Hello and welcome to Electric Sheep. My name is Paul Andrews and I'm joined in the studio as always by Elizabeth Jones.
Hello.
And this week our very special guest is Pablo. Now Pablo is the Student Union President.
Yes, hello.
So we're going to be talking to Pablo a little bit later on. He's going to be telling us all about what he does, and because he's been the Student Union President, first at the University of Wales Newport, and now on the Newport campuses of the new University of South Wales for a good few years. So we'll be talking to Pablo later on about kind of the tools and technologies that he uses, and he can explain to us, what a Student Union President actually does, because I've never been one, so I don't know. Okay, but before we do that, we'll do our usual kind of round robin of what we've been up to this week. So I'll throw this over to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, what have you been up to this week?
Well, this week I have been mostly making little instructional videos for different tools and things. So I thought I would mention a couple of the tools that I found to be useful while making them.
Cool.
So first of all, I was using Screencast-O-Matic, which I know we've mentioned before, to do screen recordings of like using Twitter or Skype or something, just to grab what was happening so I could do it.
Yeah.
But then I was finding that although I can narrate over that and you can record off the microphone,
Sure.
obviously when you're doing it live off the cuff, you tend to stumble over things and it doesn't come out great.
Yeah.
And then you've got that like breathing into the microphone thing. And so it was all going horribly wrong. And when I was doing Skype, it was recording me, but it wasn't recording the person on the other end.
Right, okay, yeah.
So what I found was I was just cutting the audio out of that and then using a tool called Vocaroo.
Right, yeah.
Which I recommend widely to a lot of people around the uni and stuff, but I don't think we've ever talked about on here before.
No, we haven't, no.
And what Vocaroo is, it's a website. It's not an app. You can't get it like on an iPod or anything. Yeah. And it's completely free, and you just go on there, and there's just one button right in the middle, and it just says start recording. And you just start recording, just talking to the microphone, say what you want to say. You can do anything from like 2 seconds to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, well, as long as you want, they say, until like the server crashes, basically.
So the hard drive space runs out.
Yeah, and then you press stop recording, and it says you can listen to what you've done, and then it just says restart or done. And if you say done, it then gives you the option to save it, download it to your computer.
Right.
It gets automatically saved on their servers and you get a link to it.
Wonderful.
And then you get share options and you can share it straight to Facebook, to Google+, to Twitter. And then it's got like a little plus button and you can share it 337 additional ways.
Wow.
Which I didn't even know there were 337 additional ways I might want to share this piece of stuff.
Gotcha.
But basically what I'm doing is downloading it and then adding it to my little screencasts.
Right.
But it's super handy because I can just record like 10 seconds of audio, download it, do the same thing again, and I can do that as many times as I want. And it's so quick.
Yeah.
It's quicker than using any program on your computer.
Sure.
If you've just got that very basic sort of audio recording that you need to do, rather than opening up iMovie or QuickTime or anything I could think of, it's just faster than that.
Because I know Audacity's been the one that's been around for, about 10 years now, I guess. But I always found that to be quite intimidating, not to me personally, but if I sat down with an educator who'd never done any of this kind of stuff before, it's great, but there are so many kind of buttons and things you've got to push and options. It's almost paralysing to them because they're like, oh my God, where do I start? Whereas I take it this thing, it's your website, you hit one button.
Yeah, it's
and
start recording and stop recording.
Yeah.
So, and then it does give you the options to download your audio file in different file types. So you've got WAV, MP3, OGG, and a couple of others. So it's really handy if you do want to do later manipulation in something like that, if you are actually using it for a proper audio project. But it's just been so handy.
That's really neat. Well, we'll definitely put a link to that on the website underneath the podcast as well. But that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'll tell you what I've been doing this week. It's been a truncated this week because we had the bank holiday Monday, so it's a bit of a short week. But I've been playing around with two things. The first one is kind of linked to what you were talking about, Elizabeth, with the audio recording, and it's a new service that Grooveshark have introduced. Now, I think we've mentioned Grooveshark before. For those of you who don't know, Grooveshark is a wonderful free site that basically lets you stream and create playlists from virtually any song in the world. So if you're paying for things like Spotify, stop it and go to Grooveshark because it's free. And Grooveshark works on mobiles as well. It's got a HTML5 website. So it just works. I mean, I've been saying to people, stop buying things on iTunes, just use Grooveshark. But what they are now letting you do is they're letting you create your own internet radio station for free. And you can queue up and play any track that's on the Grooveshark database. That's pretty much any song that's ever existed ever. But in addition to that, you can also upload your own content. But there's a nice little feature which, whilst the song is playing, you can preview the next track if you want to. So it works like a kind of almost like a professional radio DJ kind of thing.
So you've got like the headphones on one and then the other.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can also record up to 30 seconds of audio on the fly and then have that go in between the song that's about to finish and the next song.
Wow.
So effectively, you can now host from a web browser your own radio station.
That's really clever.
It just works. It's brilliant. I mean, you could do it before, but you had to use like 2 or 3 different packages.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing around with something called Mixler for about a year now, which is the same kind of thing. But with Mixler, you had to use Grooveshark to get the audio in and broadcast it back out, and it was a bit of a faff.
And you couldn't listen to stuff ahead of time.
That's right, yeah.
I remember you were broadcasting and we were like, that's the wrong song.
Yeah. Yeah. So like with Grooveshark Broadcast, it's completely free of charge. You can sign up with Twitter or Google or just have your own kind of Grooveshark account, completely free. And you can just broadcast. So what this means is, I mean, I've been telling lots of people about it this week. I've been running around saying to kind of educators, and I've been talking to a couple of schools this week saying, you can have a school radio and it's all legit, it's all above board. You haven't got to pay any money, any licensing fees or anything. And your pupils can record little messages in between each of the songs. So the parents can listen to it, or adult learners can listen to whatever you're broadcasting to. But it's just a really nice way of opening up. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this, but does it save your radio show?
It does, yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
It saves everything. So you've got basically, it essentially has like previous broadcasts. So you're able to go in, because all it's really doing is it's creating a file which is pointing to all of these different songs. So it's been quite clever, rather than generating a massive sound file on their servers, it has all the database of the songs and it says, right, you play this one first and this one second and this one third. And so you can listen to it again anytime you want to. It's really great. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go to grooveshark.com. There's a big button that says broadcast. You can't miss it, and it just walks through the whole thing. It's fantastic. So there's that. And then the other thing which I've been playing around with this week, which is rather lovely as well, is YouTube has added the facility to upload picture files. So previously, if you were a teacher, say, and you wanted to get a presentation onto YouTube, it was a bit of a faff. You had to, let's say using PowerPoint, save each of the PowerPoint files as a picture file. You then have to take those picture files into a video editing package like Windows Movie Maker or iMovie. You then have to put them all in the right order, and you then have to record the audio, the narration,
do a screencast of yourself doing it,
and then save the video, and then you'd have to upload it to YouTube. And it was doable, but it was a bit of a faff. Now what YouTube lets you do is basically say, right, I'm going to save all my slides as pictures. I'm going to drag those pictures and drop them onto the YouTube interface. It uploads them all, gives you a nice online free video editor so you can rearrange them in whatever order you want, and then you can record audio narration on the top. You then hit a button and that video is then available on YouTube, and it can be public, it can be private, or it can be really locked down so only certain individuals can see it. But and of course, because it's YouTube, it works on everything. So if you do this and you're an educator, your students, your pupils, your learners can watch your presentations on any internet-enabled device without having to have any software installed. So it works on smartphones and games consoles and computers and all that kind of stuff. So it's really simple. So again, we'll put a link to it up there on the website. If you've already got a YouTube account, to get to this feature, all you need to do is log into your YouTube account, click on the upload button, and then it's an option on the upload screen. It basically says slideshow. You click on it and you drag and drop, and it just works. Okay, so now it's time to talk to our very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself and explain kind of what you do in the university?
Yeah, sure. I'm Pablo Riesco, and I'm the Student Union President of the University of South Wales.
Wow.
I was currently the University of Newport Student Union President before the merger.
Yeah, and you've been the Student Union President for how many years now? It's a number of years, isn't it?
This is my second year now.
The second year, yeah.
As president, so it's my last now.
Wow. So if you wanted to run for a third time, you couldn't. Is that how it kind of works?
No, yeah, it's under the Education Act. You can only be a sabbatical officer for 2 years.
Right. Okay.
So you can only be in a paid position within the union as a sabbatical member for a maximum of 2 years.
Gotcha. So if there are any kind of students listening to this, maybe kind of students who are in the first year or second year at the moment, and they're thinking, well, I'd quite like to kind of run for one of these things, but I'm not quite sure what I'd end up doing. What's the kind of typical day in the life of the student union president? What do you do?
There's not really a typical day. The remit of the role is to represent students and to lead the union and to make sure that you represent them in both a local and a national level.
Right.
A lot of that work is done through meetings. The students' union through myself or through other sabbatical sits in every committee or every meeting that there is in the university. So
gotcha.
From academic board to a board of governors to faculty boards, we sit there and we can express the view and the needs of the students in those levels and manage to give the feedback back to the university so that the student experience can be all that it should be.
Gotcha. So you're acting almost like as a conduit, if you like, between any the staff or the institution and the students on the ground who are going to lectures and all that kind of stuff.
We're here to represent them like any other union would do, but
gotcha.
We're just for the students.
Sure. So and how do you kind of canvas? How does feedback from the students come to you? Is it like an organic thing, or are there kind of structures in place that you use to get that information from people?
It's both. I think you always get students coming up and giving feedback directly, but a lot of the feedback and the most valuable feedback comes through the structures in place. We have a great course rep structure that with over 250 course reps at the moment. So
wow.
For the academic representation, which is the vital side, every course has an elected member or two in each year in each course.
Right. Okay.
So they get feedback from the course, and then that goes into a course rep council, which gets fed into the faculty board members who take it to faculty board, and if there are issues that still have to be resolved, would either then go to the academic board reps or to the educational welfare officer or to myself to raise the higher levels of the institution.
Yeah. And are the course reps, again, if people listen to this thinking, I'm quite interested, are there any benefits to being a course rep in terms of, is it kind of like a salary post, or are they getting any benefits, or is it?
All the course reps are volunteer roles.
Right, gotcha.
So it looks great in the CV. And
sure.
Great thing for the union and the university. We do try and encourage people to run, and we offer course reps a 10% discount on the shop and the bar.
Gotcha.
So whenever they
always handy.
Our facility, so it's good that they can spend time and spend the money and get reinvested into the system. But it's mainly a voluntary role that is good for the CV and good for the union to run. The only positions that are paid are the full-time sabbaticals.
Right. Yeah.
And now with a new union that's been created now for September onwards, July onwards, we're looking into the part-time officers or council chairs to be a bursary position from the union, so that they can get some financial gain from all the hard work that they put in for the union. Which
wonderful.
Is from the feedback from the different liberation groups.
So is there we record the podcast a little bit ahead of time, and we put it a couple of weeks later on, but is there a deadline if someone's listening to this now who's in their first and second year who wants to get involved, say, is there a deadline by which they have to express their interest or throw the hat into the ring?
Well, for the sabbatical positions or the council members, we're running now a campaign for trying to get people running.
Right.
The nomination packs have been going out this week, and you need to get them in back by the 16th.
16th of May, okay.
So
it might be, by the time you listen to this, that might have passed already, yeah.
And then you'll have 2 weeks of information on campaigning. So by the 27th of May, you'll have 3 days of campaigning where the new student union president and the new vice presidents of every region, so Newport, Pontypridd and Cardiff, and the overall president, along with all the council chairs of each region, will be elected, and by the 30th of May we'll have who will be the new
you have your new
team.
team. Wonderful. And how is technology used in any way to either reach out to the students and go, hey, we want you to kind of nominate you, put yourselves forward, or in the kind of the voting systems at all?
It's for voting. Newport in the past has always done paper ballots. And we've always been quite lucky in getting a good turnout compared to other unions in that way, and it gives the feel of the voting more.
Yeah.
Now with the new union being spread over many campuses with many miles apart, we've taken the electronic approach.
Right, gotcha.
So the students that are from the old Newport will be using Emily to vote. There'll be an option there to vote, and the students from the old Glamorgan will be using their Glam Life, I think it's called, to go vote. So it'll be done electronically. So because if you need to vote for president, it will be which will be an overall president voting in all campuses with an option of 33,000 students potentially being allowed to vote. It'll be done much faster.
That's a lot of bits of paper. I was just thinking.
Will be eco-friendly and online.
Wonderful.
So it'll be done. The voting itself will be done online. The campaigning, it's a mixture. You can the people running will be either campaigning through the social media. Facebook was a very big group, and Twitter, and just on on word of mouth and through posters and old-fashioned ways of
kind of canvassing. I mean, I suppose this year, because we have got that added extra dimension of the distance between the campuses, particularly for those roles that are going to be across the whole university, the use of social media is going to be vital, simply because they can't be on all those campuses at all times. It gets very kind of difficult. I guess.
The role of the president is going to be a special role that whoever does the best campaigning will have to have a strong social media and online presence due to the 7 campuses that are potentially available to vote. So
there's going to be some serious communications roles going on
there. Yeah.
I mean, I've always seen the Newport Union on Twitter. It's on Twitter,
yes.
Like sending things out and stuff. But I guess it's going to get even stronger now with the 2 big unions joining up and.
I think with such a big union now and more staff and more input and more options, I think the communications and the things will only be increased. So I think people will be able to follow the union even in closer. But at the same time, maybe some of those issues will not be relating to them because it'll be campus specific.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be a mix of both that they can get the information through it.
Gotcha. So what about, I mean, you said yourself in your role as a student union president, are there any kind of tools or gadgets or gizmos or technologies that you use just to make your life easier in the duties that you have to fulfill?
I think it's kind of a silly one, but I think the online email service is the one that is the big thing for us. Most of the work that we do, it's a lot of communicating through staff members and passing the student information to the university. So that's the easy way to do it. So in the office, Outlook is always open on everyone's computers, trying to get everything back, and especially for sharing calendars and getting when we can all get together. Now with one big union, we need to make sure that we all coordinate where we are at once before any week. So that's very very useful. I'm sure most students have received a few emails from myself that we get an all-access email, all student emails, so we can send it to every student, and it's quite handy for election time, for May ball, for freshers, for any of those issues that affect all students. It's always good to email them out and to their student email, so they actually have a record of it. On the other side, it's just a lot of social media. A lot of people come to us through social media and contact us through the Facebook group or through personal Facebook. And ask questions and raise issues that they do have. So it's something that Facebook's always on in the background, and our communications officer or someone in the office always has an eye on the Facebook page.
Absolutely.
So that any feedback that comes back can be dealt with and raised appropriately, I think.
Do you find that if you're sending emails out to this kind of student body, are there any particular types of emails that will generate more of a response than others? Like, for example, are there any particular kind of events where if you put something out? I'm thinking things like for example, we've got the May Ball coming up. Will that generate significantly more response than perhaps other things? Are there any kind of standout events?
I think the May Ball is always the big one that everyone waits for the whole year. And whenever we send the information out, we always get people before the event sending emails. When's the information going to be released? Yeah. Who are the acts? What's going on with it? So it's always a big response through it. Elections are always a big feedback too. That we get a lot of information back from them, and then always whenever we can get. I know employability is a big issue at the moment. So whenever we get either university saying we've got some grant options or some job options or opportunities for students, we always email that out, and we always get a lot of responses from students wanting to get more information, be directed to the right place. So it's always I think if there's money involved or something big involved, it's always student body always gets a big response. But we always get a really good response from them anyway.
Sure.
Overall.
How do you manage? I mean, obviously, you've got multiple communication channels coming in through technology and kind of non-technology people coming up to you and talking to you. How do you kind of manage all of those different communication streams and not go
So we're quite lucky that we have a communications officer at the moment, and she does a great job making sure that all the Facebook and Twitter is always updated and the website is up to date.
Right.
So, we have to keep refreshing it with the new information and all the things that we do out there. So she does a lot of the role is just making sure that everything's being informed and communicated to the students. So she deals with all that social side, while myself and Verity and Chris there through sports and education and events. We deal more with the email and just more stepping in and out of the social media.
Right.
To the whole.
Sorry. Do you think that with like the increase in technology and social media and stuff, that the communications officer role has become more and more sort of busy and important then?
It's becoming very busy and important, and it's with the new union, there will not be a communications officer because with being spread over all the campuses, it won't be possible. So there'll be members of staff who deal with that. So they'll be able to have a more of a continuation of what is happening, because I think it's getting to such a point that you need someone there constantly with the past experience that can keep up to date with what is happening.
Yeah, changing each year would be too hard.
It's such a thing, and now with the whole overall union, it's something that's much easier to control from the top, feeding the information down through making sure that the Twitter and the Facebook and the website are all up to date and informing all the council members and all the sabbatical team and other members of staff of what's going on at the same time. So the unions decided to take that approach on the communication and on the media of it, and hopefully it'll be a right choice to
Right. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's just like once you start being around on social media, then you've got to be on Twitter, and then you've got to be on Facebook, and then you've got to be on YouTube, and you've got to be on Keek, and then it's like our job just to update each one with the right stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's the challenge. That's the challenge, isn't it? Certainly, if when I talk to educators, there is an expectation on university lecturers, and teachers in primary, secondary, and in colleges as well, that if they're going to engage in this, they have to find the time to do it themselves, because there isn't. It's quite rare that you're in a post where you can say, if there's a communications person dedicated, particularly in the education sector, kind of doesn't exist. So it can be quite difficult, I guess, to go, right, I've got the day job to do. I've got my teaching to do, my marketing, and all that good stuff that goes on, plus attend the meetings, plus the emails. And then it's not very surprising, I guess, why when we're working with educators, we kind of extol the virtues of Twitter in terms of connecting with people and sharing ideas. The response is, I haven't got time for this. It's not a priority to me because I've got marking to do and planning to do, and so it would be kind of nice if if education establishments kind of they say, well, hang on, if we've got a comms officer for the student union because it's really important, it's a really important role, or we've got then we should really have a staff, a member of staff whose job it is to look at that, and not just from a kind of a marketing point of view, because the University of South Wales got a cracking marketing team, they do a really grand job on the social media, but that's very much about kind of the whole university and the image it wishes to put out as on a macro level, but more on a micro level in terms of, what about this particular course or this particular research area or this particular, and that tends to kind of fizzle out, not through people not wanting to engage with it, just because it's such a big onerous job, and creating the comment. I know Elizabeth this week has been making videos, because it's something we've been talking about for a while in terms of generating content that can go onto YouTube. But I think you found that, although enjoyable, quite a time-consuming process.
Very time-consuming. I mean, you'd get faster as you went along, but you need that time to learn and get good at it. I'm sure by the time you've done it 50 times, you'll be brilliant. Yeah. But I need the time to do it 50 times, and I've got other things to be doing. Yeah. So, I'm just doing a couple of them. But yeah, it's something that seems to be changing from the, coming down from a staff side, that there is a lot more work to be done on that side of things. But it's happening because students are more involved with technology
Yeah.
because it's just everywhere. I mean, we're sitting here around this table and we've got a tablet, 2 smartphones and an iPod just sitting on the table, and that's, you know, with the computers turned off. There's a computer on this table as well. Nobody's looking at it. But we're all here with our little gadgets. Mobile technology is suddenly this big thing, and everyone's having to deal with the fact that it exists and it interacts with stuff differently. And, you know, are you noticing that a lot more students are coming using that sort of technology?
I think it's we used to have more people. You know, we talked to past sabbatical team. They had more contact face to face. They would come to the office, but now a lot. We have the direct contact through social media, through the emails, through Facebook, and it's just kind of like, you know, they could be, you know, just in the bar, but it's easier for them to send
even though they're across the hall,
or the Facebook message or something to go across and do it. So it's I think the online presence is and the, you know, electronic communication is just massive now, and it's a vital side of how we represent students nowadays. So.
Do you find that there's an expectation? Obviously, you know, with electronic communication, it's very, one of the plus points is it's very quick. But also one of the down points is it's very quick, because students will have or might have an expectation of, I've sent you this, why haven't you responded within, you know, an hour or something? And it's like, well, I'm kind of busy.
It does get to that point, I think, with emails. You know, if you don't respond within, you know, a few hours, they go, oh, you know, it's what's wrong? They'll call you up and go, have you received my email?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'm kind of like, you know, just in a meeting.
Yeah, you're in meetings. I
can't do it with Facebook. You know, it's because you've got a. You know, we all have a big range of students in our Facebook groups, and that you do get messages at, you know, at 11:30 at night, you know, saying, you know, oh, it's can you help me with this appeal, or can you what's happening with the neighbour, or, you know, or, you know, what's with the election, and you're kind of going, oh, it's kind of like 11:30. You know,
I have a life.
Yes.
I want to go to bed now. Can we do this tomorrow?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've noticed that. I mean, last year was the first year when we actually put like a new starters page for the students that were coming into the University of Wales Newport as it was then, and then there's another one this year for the University of South Wales. But we had this Facebook page where students who hadn't started yet could come on, and they could like virtually meet other students who were going to be arriving in September and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. And it was brilliant, really, really great success. But like you say, you know, the queries were coming in at, shall we say, non-office hours and on non-office days. And then if the queries weren't responded to within, let's say, 2 or 3 hours, there was a follow-up going, well, why is no one, you know, why is no one getting back to me? And I mean, I'm quite strict with all this stuff. I mean, although I've got, you know, the gadgets, the gizmos, I will actually turn all of the work-related stuff off when I leave the building. I'm like, no, because otherwise I get things be pinging left, right, and centre of me. So you come in on a Monday morning, and someone's posted something at like 4 a.m. on a Saturday, you know, and asking these questions like, well, you know, I'll get back to you, but it's between. So in the end, we always had to put, you know, all inquiries will be answered between 9 and 5 on a Monday to Friday within so many hours of you posting. But if you post that outside of this,
all bets are off.
All bets are off. Yeah, you know, we'd love to help you all the time, but unfortunately, you know, like you say, there are things to be done outside of work. So, you know,
but that's always a problem. They'll start, you know, Friday late afternoon.
Absolutely.
Later, and then before you know it, you're working through Sunday.
And
to answer comments, but you know, it's kind of a give and take, and most students will realize that, you know, some things are better dealt during the weekend. Some students will just ask always at any time and expect answers.
Yeah.
And, it's sometimes it's a question whether you think, oh, just this time I'll answer. You say, you know, can you contact back on you know, come around on Monday morning, and we'll discuss it and talk about it, because it's more appropriate to do it then.
If it's any consolation, I get emails from staff at silly times as well. You know, it's I don't think it's just kind of it's just people, to be honest. Certain people just kind of want the answer now. But you know, I have had emails from people like that. Like, again, I've seen them on the Monday morning, but they sent them at like 11 o'clock on the Friday, going, "Are you there? I need help." And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm out. I'm not there. It's like, if you want to come down to the pub and buy me a drink, then I will be there. That's where I'll be. But otherwise, I'm not. Where, you know, I'm not going to be online. It's. So what's next? I mean, obviously, you know, you've said you've been the SU president for 2 years. What's next for you after this current run ends?
Well, I've still got to finish my degree. I decided to take a real sabbatical when I decided to run for it.
Nice.
So I did my 2 years of study.
Yeah.
and then I ran for the position in March of my second year and got elected. So I did my first year as sabbatical of Newport.
Wonderful.
As president, then I got re-elected, and I did my second year. And now in April, once we merged, we had to sort out the roles, and the student council of both old universities voted me in to be the kind of interim president until elections can be held. So I'm the current president now, but then I'm finishing in 30th of June. I'm taking a well-deserved break over the summer.
Yeah.
and then I will go back to study for my final year, hopefully, and finish my degree. And I think it's one step at a time. I don't really,
gotcha.
Don't have any plans after that.
Yeah. And are there any, within your role as being the student union president, are there any skills which you've learnt or picked up on experience have had which are going to help you either within your final year or, once you graduate and move on to pastures new?
I think, being a sabbatical for any number of years, 1 year, 2 years, it's a great experience, and you learn so much from the institution, how the university works and how things can operate. And it's I consider it like a year or 2 years in industry, and it's been amazing experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
And it's I think a lot of it's kind of like time management. You always have a lot of priorities, and you kind of have to look at it and go, what's more important now, and have to prioritize what you can do now and what you can do later on, and what you can kind of delegate and say, can someone help me with this, and hopefully that will help me in not only in real life, but in my final year study to make sure when I have 2 essays and a dissertation to do on the last week to know how to set the priorities for that and that. So it's time management has been great, and the overall experience has just been amazing. And I'd always recommend anyone being involved in the union and running for positions. And if you don't want to be a full-time sabbatical, because a year out's a lot of responsibility, always be involved in some of the council members and smaller positions.
Yeah, so you can get involved as much or as little as you want
it's
to.
It's students' union, you're involved however much you want. If you want to help out with events, we always have an open door policy. If you want to be a course rep, we're always looking for more course reps. If you want to be a council member, if you want to be part of the sports teams, it's anything you do, it gets involved in the student experience, and or even if you're just going to the bar or using the shop, any money that is made from those services gets reinvested into the students. We're a non-for-profit organisation, and all money always goes back to the students and to what they want. It's through council they decide what they want to do with everything.
Gotcha.
When I was in uni, the societies I joined, they were the most helpful thing for getting jobs and stuff afterwards, because it was that experience that gave you something to talk about in the interviews and things. It was the degree that opens the door, but it's all the other stuff you do, the societies, the union, that sort of thing that you get involved in. That's your good stuff.
I think it's vital that it's a big point to take. Is when you join a sport team, a society, any kind of group, you're joining a community, and the National Union of Students always says that it's easy to drop out of a course, but it's hard to drop out of a community. Yeah. So it's harder to leave your friends because you feel like you're letting them down. So you always try harder, and it's been proved that retention rates with sports and societies and being involved, it improves it massively. So if for any students who be part of groups, and they're kind of like peer supported groups in different levels, and it's always a great experience and a great fun to be involved in them.
Well, I know one of the things that certainly University of Wales Newport and the University of South Wales is very big on is the whole kind of holistic student experience. I mean, I was wondering if you had if money wasn't an option, if you had a magic wand, is there anything that you would do based on what feedback from students that you do with it that you would do that currently isn't being done? Is there any kind of provision that you'd like to see, or developments or support, or something that would make the experience even better than it already is?
I think one of the things that always has the money issue is being part of taking part in union events or union societies. You have to have any activity you do. If you're part of a sports team, it's subsidized heavily by the union. But there's still a cost to the student to join societies or sports.
Sure. So
ideally, those costs would be covered. If money was no option, they would all be free.
Yeah.
So participation in sports and societies would increase, and that way you can put more money into the system, and also would be able to offer any events during Freshers or May Ball, where it's a great end of year celebration would be on a free of cost. ideal world that we
Yeah.
lived in.
Yeah. And it's always I suppose it is always very difficult, isn't it? Because there are, I mean, just in life in general, there are always kind of financial barriers as to what
the money in.
So, we would always increase our staff so we can have more contact with students. So all the issues do get raised, and all the academic issues, we were always someone there to raise them. So I think there are many things that could be improved if money was
Sure.
no option. But, I think that's the problem.
We need more money.
If anyone from directors,
We'll go stand outside the office with a bucket or something and shake it a little bit.
What about technologically? If you could wave a wand over your computers and make them do magical things, what would you like them to do that you don't know if you could do?
For the computer to do magical things? I don't know.
What would you like to be able to do? Is there anything particularly that bugs you?
I think it's always having I think it's whenever students have feedback and we always struggle to get an accurate way of getting all the feedback and tallying it up and from all the different sides. I think that's a big issue that we always experience. That's always hard to get all the feedback in the same place at the same time. And
coming from all the different
from all the different departments and the students and be able to feed back. And I think it's I would love to be able to type something into a computer and magically reach every student so we could inform them, because no matter how you write the email, so you put on Facebook, it's not everyone checks Facebook daily or streaming on Facebook, and not everyone always reads the emails, and some people use other email accounts and things. So it's always hard to actually communicate the information to students. So I think if we could have a magical way of telling students this is happening in an hour's time, come to the main hall or
one big central university thing.
Yeah, I think the good stroke bad news is that it's the same problem
for everyone,
and not just in the education sector. I mean, that's communication is always you can make things as easy as possible. I suppose that's why companies spend millions on advertising, because it's very difficult to make significant numbers of people kind of sit up and make notice and remember it. I mean, certainly in terms of the data collection thing, what you might want to have a look at is something called Google Drive. This lets you make online surveys, forms and questionnaires. It's free and it's scalable, so it'll handle all the thousands of people that are going to be filling it in. And it's web-based, so they can fill it in on their phones, on their laptops and computers and all that kind of stuff. But the really cool thing is every person who fills it in goes into a row on a spreadsheet, but it will then pull the data out live and graph the results live for you. So you can have a big TV on the wall with the graphs changing in real time as the data's coming in. So it's almost like, like on election, like the BBC or something, have those swingometers and all that kind of stuff. You can do all that kind of business with the data as it's coming in. So it's very, very cool. I mean, at the moment, I'm talking to a number of kind of primary schools about using the technology because they want to do student pupil grade trackers. So it's the same kind of principle. They're going to have all their teachers plug in all the grades in, and then it's doing some jiggery-pokery behind the scenes to then produce these graphs so that non-mathematical people who don't like numbers and that kind of stuff, can still see the picture of what's happening without having to get bogged down in formulas and numbers and all that kind of stuff. But
sounds great. We have used SurveyMonkey and things like that in the past.
Yeah, so I mean it's very similar to SurveyMonkey, only it doesn't have any of the limitations that SurveyMonkey has in terms of you reach a limit and then SurveyMonkey then says, right, we want you to pay for this now. Google doesn't have that. So yeah, it might be worth you kind of checking that one out because it's good, and it's by Google, and they own the internet. So yeah, Well, all that remains then is to say thank you very much to Elizabeth for joining us once again.
You're quite welcome.
And our very special guest Pablo.
Thank you very much for having me here.
And just for me, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.